Hello, it's me, Mike, with HPDS. In this video, I will be doing a study in Genesis chapter 42. Genesis chapter 42. Before I get started, I'll go ahead and start with the Lord's Prayer. So, Our Father, who is in heaven, hallowed be thy name. May your kingdom come, and may your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Please give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our debt, as we forgive those in debt to us. And Lord, lead us not into temptation, but instead deliver us from the evil one. Amen. Okay, so in Genesis 42, let me give a quick outline. Genesis 42, let's see, we see in verses 1 through 5, we will see that Jacob sends his sons to buy corn in Egypt. And verses 6 through 20, we'll see that the brothers will bow before Joseph without recognizing him. And then verses 21 through 38, the brothers are sent back to the back home without Simeon. So we'll see that ultimately in this chapter 42, if we remember Genesis 41, Pharaoh has a dream, and in his dream, he dreams about what God will do, and God tells him that there will be 7 plenteous years, followed by 7 years of famine. And in this moment, uh, we are coming to the famine. So in Genesis 42, we'll be reading about this famine and what ensues therein. So I'll go ahead and start reading through the chapter. Let me get this on camera and on screen, and there it is. So let me read through it, and then we'll go through it. Genesis 42 reads, Now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, why do ye look one upon another? And he said, Behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down thither, and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die. And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob, sent not with his brethren, for he said, Lest peradventure mischief befall him. And the sons of Israel came to buy corn among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. And Joseph was the governor over the land. And he it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came, and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, Whence come ye? And they said, Come from the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew him not. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and said unto them, Ye are spies, to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. And they said unto him, Nay, my lord, but to buy food are thy servants come. We are all one man's sons. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies. And he said unto them, Nay, but to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. And they said, Thy servants are 12 brethren, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is not. And Joseph said unto them, That is it that I spake unto you, saying, Ye are spies. Hereby ye shall be proved. By the life of Pharaoh ye shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come hither. Send one of you, and let him fetch your brother, and ye shall be kept in prison, that your words may be proved, whether there be any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh surely ye are spies. And he put them all together into ward 3 days. And Joseph said unto them the 3rd day, This do and live, for I fear God. If ye be true men, let one of your brethren be bound in the house of your prison. Go ye, carry corn for the famine of your houses. But bring your youngest brother unto me, so shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so. And they said one to another, We are verily guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the anguish of his soul, when he besought us, and we would not hear. Therefore is this distress come upon us. And Reuben answered them, saying, Spake I not unto you, saying, Do not sin against the child? And ye would not hear. Therefore, behold, also his blood is required. And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake unto them by an interpreter. And he turned himself about from them and wept, and returned to them again, and communed with them, and took from them Simeon, and bound him before their eyes. Then Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with corn, and to restore every man's money into his sack, and to give them provision for the way. And thus did he unto them. And they laded their asses with the corn, and departed thence. And as one of them opened his sack to give his ass provender in the inn, he espied his money, for behold, it was in his sack's mouth. And he said unto his brethren, My money is restored, and lo, it is even in my sack. And their heart failed them, and they were afraid, saying one to another, What is this that God hath done unto us? And they came unto Jacob their father unto the land of Canaan, and told him all that befell unto them, saying, The man who is the Lord of the land spake roughly to us, and took us for spies of the country. And we said unto him, We are true men, we are no spies. We be 12 brethren, sons of our father, one is not, and the youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan. And the man, the Lord of the country, said unto us, Hereby shall I know that ye are true men. Leave one of your brethren here with me, and take food for the famine of your households, and be gone. And bring your youngest brother unto me. Then shall I know that ye are no spies, but that ye are true men. So I will deliver you, your brother, and ye shall traffic in the land. And it came to pass, as they emptied their sacks, that behold, every man's bundle was money was in his sack. And when both they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said unto them, Me have ye bereaved of my children. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not, and ye will take Benjamin away? All these things are against me. And Reuben spake unto his father, saying, Slay my 2 sons if I bring him not to thee. Deliver him into my hand, and I will bring him to thee again. And he said, My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. If mischief befall him by the way in which ye go, then shall ye bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. So that's Genesis 42 right there. Genesis 42, like I said, going over it, basically what we've got here is that Jacob, it's the time of the famine, and Jacob sends his 2 sons to buy corn in Egypt. And so while they're there, the brothers go and they run into none other than Joseph. And Joseph is, as we remember from Genesis 41, he's been established to basically the right hand of the Pharaoh, and he's the guy selling all the corn. He's the guy selling all the stuff over here when they get there. And so, of course, he recognizes them, but they don't recognize him. And if you remember why, it's because, let's see, back in Genesis 37, we came across a chapter in chapter 37 in which Joseph is really despised by his brothers. His brothers all hate him, and so they conspire to kill him. And they don't necessarily kill him, but they do sell him to some traveling Ishmaelites, and they in turn sell him to the Egyptians, and now he's in Egypt, and he's been basically promoted to the top of the top. He's right up there with the Pharaoh, and he's interpreted Pharaoh's dream. Pharaoh set him in a position, and now God has brought them into the years of the famine. So let me go ahead and get this back in here, and I will go over it line by line, and we'll see what the Holy Spirit brings. So, like I said, now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, he tells his sons, What are y'all doing? Why are y'all, why do you look one upon another? Why are y'all so, get down to Egypt, go buy us some corn. So that's what he's saying. He said, Behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Go, get ye down thither. So go down there and buy us, so that we can live and not die. So he's kind of urgent about this, And so the Joseph's 10th brother, so he's got 10 brothers. Remember, he's got 11 other brothers, but only 10 go to Egypt. Benjamin, which is the youngest, stays behind because Jacob at this point is obviously uh, paranoid. He's kind of overbearing. Maybe he's real overprotective of this new other son Benjamin now, since Joseph passed away. As far as he knows, Joseph was eaten by animals, is what he thinks. And the sons of Israel came to buy corn among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. So there they go. And Joseph was the governor over the land, just like we learned back in the last chapter, Genesis 41. And he sold to all the people. So there he was, enacting the plan that was a dream given to God. Remember, the dream was of the 7 plenteous years, followed by 7 years of famine. And here we are, like I said, in the 7 years of famine, and Egypt's got all the corn. Egypt was saving, in those 7 years of plenty, and it was all because God had given Pharaoh the dream, and Joseph was there to interpret it for him. And so that's what they did. And so now they're selling all this corn. They're keeping the people alive. Um, and so we see that here comes Joseph's brother, and they have no clue that this is Joseph. So they just come to Egypt. They bow themselves, and not knowing any idea that this was, their brother that they had thrown and sold so many years ago. They thrown him into a pit, and then they sold him. So they had no clue that this was him. They come and they're just trying to buy some corn, and Joseph recognizes them. But of course, he doesn't necessarily make himself recognizable to them. He does make himself strange, and he was a little harsh with them. He spoke roughly with them, and he starts questioning them. He starts, "Where are you from?" And they tell him, "We're from the land," and they said, "We're from the land of Canaan. We're here to buy food." But like I said, Joseph knew him, and he recognized him, but he recognized that they didn't know him. And he remembered the dreams. And if you remember the dreams, that also is from Genesis 37. He had 2 dreams. Remember, he had the dream in which one of the dreams was, let's see, Genesis 37, verse 6. And he said unto them, "Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf." And of course, the verse going into verse 8, it said that his brethren said to him, shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. So these dreams are definitely chief in the reason why they really hated him. He was over here, and he was also telling on them to Joseph, making sure that Joseph knew what these other brothers were doing. I mean, that Jacob knew what Joseph's other brothers were doing. So that's, they really didn't like him, and it was especially these couple of dreams. That one was where the sheaves, which are, like the sheaves are like the parts of the corn or whatever, the little leaves that are kind of part of the corn. And anyway, so he saw his sheaf stood up, and the sheaves of the brothers, remember, they bowed down and gave obeisance. So here he is, God's fulfilling that dream, because if you recognize what's going on, they're here to buy him to buy they're here to buy corn from him. So of course his sheaf is in fact standing up, and their sheaves are bowing in obeisance. But of course there's only 10 of them. And in his dream back in Genesis 37, he saw all of his brothers. There was 11 of them. And we remember that from the next dream he had the second dream he had in Genesis 37. And that was when basically he said, "Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me." And that's Genesis 37 verse 9, part of, the second half of verse 9. So he had two dreams, one that all the chiefs would be bowing to his, and then the other one where the moon, the sun, and the 11 stars were bowing to him. And so that's, right now there's only 10 brothers right in front of him. So he recognizes that this dream is not yet fulfilled, but here is God on the brink of fulfilling it. And Daniel, I mean not Daniel, but Joseph is recognizing that right there, and he remembers his dreams. And so when he remembers his dreams, he clearly recognizes, this dream isn't entirely correct. And so he tells them too, he starts also treating them harshly because he needed, for this dream to be correct, he needed all of them here. And so he tells them, "You're spies. You're here to see the nakedness of the land ye are come." So he starts accusing them of being spies. And they tell him, "No, we're not spies. We're not. We're just here to buy certain food." So all of a sudden things are turning bad for them. They show up to buy corn, and the Pharaoh basically is accusing them of being spies. And they're just trying to buy some corn, and they don't recognize that this is, in fact, their long lost brother who they threw away, who they got rid of thinking that they killed him. So in verse 11 here, we keep going on, we do see that they start trying to explain, no, we're not spies. And they start telling them about themselves. Like, we are just, we're all brothers. We're just brothers, and we are true men. We're just, none of us are spies. We're all here telling you what we're here for, and we're here for corn. That's it, nothing more. And he tells them, but Joseph tells them, no, you're here to see the nakedness of the land. That's why you're here, calling them spies. He's accusing them of being spies. And they're like, and they say, no, we're 12 brothers. There's 12 of us. We're all the son of one man out in the land of Canaan. And behold, and he tells us, the youngest is this day is with our father, and one is already dead. One is not. One's already dead. So that's what they're telling him. They're telling him we were 12 brothers. And we're, one of us, our youngest, is back home, but one of them is dead. And Joseph said unto them, so Joseph's recognizing that this is, he clearly knows it's them. He's making sure it's them. They've confirmed that it's them. He knows, he recognizes them. And then so Joseph said unto them, that is it that I spake unto you, saying ye are spies. And he says, basically saying, nope, you guys are spies. I am not convinced that you are not spies, is what he tells them. I said you're spies, and I still think you're spies. That's what it is. And so he tells them, hereby ye shall be proved. So here's how you can prove that you're not spies. He goes, by the life of Pharaoh ye shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come hither. So he's saying you're not going to be able to come here unless you bring your brother back, your youngest brother back. He's all, you will never be able to, if you cannot come back here without bringing your youngest brother. And he goes, so send one of you, and goes, so send right now, go send you and fetch your brother, and you'll be kept in prison, that your words may be proved, whether they be any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh, sure you are spies. And he put them all together in ward 3 days. So he's basically telling them, the first time around, he's got 10 of these 10 brothers. These 10 brothers are in jail. And he tells them, send one of you guys to go get your other younger brother, and the rest of you guys got to stay in jail. And so he puts them in jail for 3 days. But then he comes out on the third day and he says, do this and live, for I fear God. So now he's telling them, he changes his mind and he tells them, you know what? Do this, go, because I have a fear of God. We have the same fear of God. So this again is showing how much, how Joseph is just, much favored by God. How favored he is by God, and how much God uses this guy, and how much, better he is. Just, he's more attentive. He's just a better person than his brothers over here. And here you see it again, where he comes out, he puts them in jail for 3 days, and he was just going to send one of them home. He says, I was just going to send one of you home. And then he comes back the third day and he tells them outright that he fears God. So these 10 brothers should have recognized this. I fear God. I fear God. They should have recognized, oh yeah, that's right. There is only one God, and our Father has a special covenant with this God. You get what I'm saying? And so that's why Joseph is coming out and he's outright telling them, something's got to happen. I fear God. And so I change it up. And he's being part of that blessing again. And like I said in another video, he's part of the blessing here. And Joseph is really showing how much he's a part of the blessing here, because he's over here protecting the blessing as a stranger, nonetheless. He's acting like a stranger and he's still protecting it. Even though the family has thrown him out, they try to kill him and so forth, he's still protecting the promise because he fears God. That's what he's saying. He fears God. And so if ye be true men, let one of your brother be bound in the house of your prison. Go ye, carry cord for the famine of your houses, but bring your youngest brother unto me. So shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so. So basically, he had all 10 of them in jail. He was saying, I'm just going to send one of you guys home. But then the third day he comes in and says, you know what? I fear God. And for your sake, please on your sake, I'm just going to keep one of you guys, and the rest of y'all go home. The 9 others go home. But still, come bring me back your brother so that you can get your other brother out too. If not, I'm going to think you're spies. You get what I'm saying? That's what he's saying. And so they did so. So they go, 9 of them leave, and they said one to another. Here they are kind of while they're talking, and probably they're still in prison because Joseph is around. We're going to see that Joseph was listening to them. But they start, they kind of start crying over here, and they start, they say to one another, we are very guilty concerning our brother. They basically they knew, oh no, this is because we killed our brother. And in that we saw the anguish of his soul, he besought us and would not hear. Therefore is this distress come upon us. So they're saying, oh no, we know what we did, and this is why we're here in Egypt, and we sold our brother to Ishmaelites that were on their way to Egypt. So this is why this is happening to us, because God has seen us, and so they're recognizing that that's what happened. So and they're really feeling real guilty, really concerned, really scared. And Reuben answered them. And so Reuben speaks up. So you see this little infighting going on between these brothers. So they know that, oh no, this is because of what we did to Joseph. And Reuben kind of yells up, I told you not to sin against the child, and you would not hear. Therefore, behold, also his blood is required. So now he's saying we didn't even do anything about it. So now he's dead and his blood is required, meaning we got to pay for that. We're going to have to pay for that now. And look how we're paying for that. Because this Egyptian guy is keeping us hostage, or trying to keeping one of us hostage. And so, but they didn't know that Joseph understood them. So Joseph was still standing around. He was probably in the same room, kind of lording it over, and the interpreter was speaking for him. But they probably didn't recognize that he already knew this language. He was speaking the same language. It was the language he grew up speaking. But let's see. So, and he goes, and so it kind of gets too much for Joseph. So he kind of turns around from them and wept. And then he kind of comes back and communed with them. And he decides, for whatever reason, he takes Simeon and he just bounds him. He ties him up and they bind him before their eyes. So he really binds up Simeon and sets an example for them, saying, look, go bring me your other brother. Then Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with corn, and to restore every man's money into his sack, and to give them provision for the way. And so then Joseph here kind of does something interesting that it's going to scare everybody even more. So he's really giving it to them. He's really making that fear of God is really being placed into these brothers now. So what he does is he's really nice to them. So he gives them all their corn. So that's what they came for, was to buy corn. So he buys, he gives them all a bunch of corn. And not only that, he gives it to them for free. He gives them all their money back. He makes sure that none of their money is missing. And he also gives them food and provisions. And then they send them off. They're like, all right, everything, you got everything you came for. You got it for free. Now get out of here. Here's all the stuff that you need to get back home. Go bring me your brother. So So he really makes it easy for them. And these brothers really should have been thanking God and recognizing God was had his hand here. But they doesn't seem like they necessarily were. But they get up, they get on, they loaded their asses with the corn and departed thence. So they go with all their corn. And let's see, and as one of them opens, so then one of them recognizes it. They're at an inn. He's trying to like feed his horse over here, his donkey, his ass, and he opens up the sack, to give it some food, and all of a sudden he sees his money, and he's, oh no, I got my money still. For some reason, my money's been restored. It's right here, and their heart failed them, and they were afraid. See, now they're afraid, and they're saying, "What is this that God hath done unto us?" And now they're finally, there's God. What happened? What have we done, God? What have we done? Um, or what has God done? What are you doing to us, God? And so they're really scared of what God is going to do to them. So really scared, just like kind of like what happened with Jacob, when Jacob left and he was there in late with Laban for 20 years. When he goes back home, he sends notice off to Esau saying, Esau, I'm home. And Esau, his messengers come back and saying, Esau's coming to see you, and he's bringing 400 men. So just like Jacob was terrified of seeing his brothers, or seeing his brother, here it's playing out in his children too, that his children are terrified of seeing their brother. You know what I'm saying? They have no idea that's who they're seeing is their brother right here, but they're terrified of him. So it's kind of, and they don't know what's happening. They don't know what God is doing to them. What will God's judgment be? And that's what Jacob prayed for delivery from his brother Esau. That was back in, I want to say, let's see, Genesis 32, just about 32. Yeah, that's in Genesis 32 is when Jacob prays for deliverance because he doesn't know what's going to happen when he runs into his brother. And just like these guys have no idea what's going to happen when they try to go to their father, and what's going to happen when they try to go back into Egypt, or what's going to happen. They don't know what God is doing, and they're terrified of what God has in store for them next. And they came unto Jacob their father and told him all that they had befell them. So they tell him, he's look, Dad, look, Jacob, look, Dad, the man who's the Lord over there in Egypt, he was real mean to us, and he thought we were spies. And we told him, no, we're not. We're men. We're true. We're not spies. We're 12 brothers. One of them is dead, and one is back home with our father. And the man, the lord of the country, he told us, well, hereby will I know that you guys are true men, like you're not spies. Leave one of your brethren here with me and take food for the famine of your households and be gone. So they're telling his dad, look, this is what happened. The Pharaoh thought we were spies, and he told us that to prove that we're not spies, he told us to come back, grab our youngest brother, and take him back. But we also had to leave one of our brothers behind, and then bring. So they're explaining that's what happened. But when he tells us, but when we go back, if we take our youngest brother, he'll also give us back Simeon, and we'll be able to traffic in the land. We'll be able to move around in the land, and we'll be able to buy and sell and do everything. But they all start emptying their sacks. So they tell them the story, and then they all start seeing what they have in their sacks. They're like, we at least got the corn, and then they're pouring out the corn, and behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. So they're just really kind of finding out. They weren't really, they were protecting that corn, it looks like, not opening it, not exposing it, not trying to show that they had it or not look at it, or maybe they weren't too concerned because they were just afraid of what was going to happen when they got back. But now they're suddenly opening all their sacks and realizing that all their monies, all of it was there. It's basically they got it all for free. Everything was free, and they're all afraid that they got this for free, and so they're terrified that God is being nice to them. But their father said unto them, now he gets really upset and real sad though at his children. He tells them, look, what you bad children have done. You've bereaved me of Joseph, and now Simeon isn't even here, and now you're trying to take away Benjamin, and he's really getting bad. He's really upset with his children, and he's so upset with his children that the oldest, Reuben over here, I'm pretty sure Reuben is the oldest. Let's see, Jacob, Reuben out of Leah. Reuben is the firstborn. So yep, Reuben is the firstborn here. Of Jacob. And so Jacob's really, Reuben speaks up. He says, no, like he's really like kind of overkill, but he says, slay my two sons if I don't bring him back to you. If I don't deliver him into my hand, and I will bring him to you again. He's saying, no, like he's taking a real solemn oath saying, if I, kill my two sons, if I don't bring back Benjamin, and he's telling them, but give me Benjamin and I'll take him back and I'll bring him back and I'll, slay my two sons if I don't. And he said, but Jacob said, no, I will not send you because his brother is already dead and he's left alone. And if mischief befall him by the way in which ye go, then shall ye bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. And he says, basically, Reuben's saying, let me take him back to go get Joseph, to go get Simeon, because Simeon's his brother. If we remember, Simeon is the second born. Reuben is the firstborn. Simeon is the second. And if we remember that Joseph and Benjamin are brothers of Rachel, and Rachel was Jacob's favorite, and Leah, not so much his favorite. But so here he is. He's really upset with these guys, and he's really sticking up for these two guys, and he's really upset at everybody else, basically. And he's telling them, look, these are my youngest boys, and you want my, now him. He's like, why should I, give up Benjamin for Simeon? As far as I'm concerned, Simeon's already pretty much dead. That's what he's saying. Y'all lost Simeon, Why are you gonna try to get, I'm gonna lose now Benjamin too? No, don't do it. He says he's really against the idea. So that's the end of Genesis 42, and I'll go ahead and end that there. And yeah, that's what's going on here. Is that the brothers the land is going into the time of the famine. These brothers out in the land of Canaan, they're starving, they're hungry. Their dad sends them out to go buy some corn. They get out there, and lo and behold, they run into Joseph, the very same brother they thought they killed so many years ago, or they figured he was dead. There was no way he would have survived, or no way he would be the Pharaoh, that's for sure. There's no way he could have ever been Pharaoh as far as they were concerned. But they get there, and of course, God has been treating him very well, and he's been promoted. He's really high up. He's selling corn, uh, and he's basically the master of the land. And his brothers come in to take a look and try to buy. They get held up and by Jacob or by Joseph, who recognizes them, and he comes up to an agreement to make them come back. He comes with a plan to make them come back with their brother so that he can see them all, and he does that by withholding Simeon and making the rest go back home. And on top of that, he really gives them, he terrifies them by basically sending them back home with all the corn that they came to buy, and he sent it to them home for free, basically. He sent it to them for free, and they're really terrified. They get home and they tell their father Jacob what, we need to take Benjamin so that we can get Simeon back. And when they ask him, he goes as far. Reuben goes as far as telling him, kill my own two sons if I don't bring back Benjamin to you. But we see that at the end of the chapter, Jacob just isn't convinced. He isn't happy. He doesn't like the idea, and he's saying no to this whole plan. So we'll find out what happens later in future chapter in the next chapter or so. But until then, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, if anybody who's watching this video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for future Bible studies, Genesis, chapter by chapter Bible studies. Please subscribe. God bless you, and I pray that we all bless Jesus Christ, and may Jesus Christ bless all of us. Amen.